people think of, they see pods of dolphins or pods of whales, and they think of it as like this kind of, it's just a herd of interchangeable units like cows, which I wouldn't even say is true of cows, but this is not true. These are huge groups that are dynamic. They involve reciprocal relationships, different roles, social roles that change over time, coalitions, friendships, cooperation. So there's all kinds of stuff that goes down in that world. The one I'm really into, sperm whale. That's going to be our focus. This guy, okay, this was so fun. Sometimes you get to have really fun adventures when you're a writer. This is one of my most fun adventures ever. Hanging out with this guy. His name is Hal Whitehead, and that's the Sea of Cortez there. So he's basically the world expert on sperm whales. He's a brilliant biologist out of Dalhousie University. And a few years ago, I got to know him because I did this ideas series on whales called Ocean Mine. And he invited me to come down after that to his sailboat and hang out with him for 2 weeks in the Sea of Cortez, so the Gulf of California. So for 2 weeks, we basically followed groups of sperm whale 24 hours a day out in the open ocean. During the day, you're kind of like running around taking pictures and like scooping up squid beaks, because when they dive, their bladder, everything compresses so they can get the pressure in, and they shoot out whatever they're eating. So you're basically running up, and the best thing that can happen to you on one of these trips is like they basically do a big shit, and you can get some of that, because then you can do all kinds of sampling, you can find out what they're eating. But the most evocative, kind of romantic, mysterious, beautiful part, the part that really just blew my mind, it happened at night. And at night, I mean, the idea was if you had to try to re-find the groups, even though there's whales all around, it takes a while to kind of find them in the morning. It's like a needle in a haystack. You're in this giant, huge water, and it's just like little choppy things like that. Everything looks like a blow. Everything looks like a fin. So the idea is that you're constantly following the pods. And the way you do it is through the sounds that sperm whales make. When sperm whales are diving, when they're hunting, and they spend like a big chunk of their time hunting, when they're hunting, they're using like click, 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 all these things called the echolocation pulses, and they also these things called codas. So they're sending out little clicks of sound to kind of try to find their prey. These clicks you can pick up on the microphone or on the headphones. So what you do is we've got a directional thing under the water that's looking backwards, and it would be like 2 in the morning, and I'd be like completely dreaming, and then I'd wake up and it'd be Hal. He said, "Jeff, it's your watch." I say, "Okay, it's my watch." It's like the watch. Everyone's got a watch. So this is my 2-hour watch. So I would like get on my warm clothes and my sweater, and I would head up onto deck, and it would be. I remember this one night. It was super flat, and the moon was out. So the moon was kind of bathing everything in moonlight, and he's like, "Jeff, the whales are all around us." And they're all around us right now. And I remember putting on the headphones. I could hear all these really loud clicks. I could feel the clicks coming up. They were echolocating the boat. So the clicks would come up and roll through the hull, and you could, as you were sitting, you could feel the clicks enter your body. And I'll get into the clicks in a bit about what's going on there, because there's a sense in which they use it as a means of perception, not just of communication. And he went down below, and I remember I heard this sound. It was like, it's like deep breathing. It sounded like a team of rowers, like humans. And I thought, and then eventually this pod of dolphins courses by, and they got all this bioluminescence on their back, and they're like these. So it's like these luminate, like kind of neon dolphins go by, and then I wait, and then I hear these explosive, and the air suddenly is like this humid exhalations, and the smell of kind of briny, particularly the smell of whale breath is very distinct. Steinbeck called it the foulest smell on the planet, but it's not that foul. It's just stanky and briny. It's like, anyway, and it drifting up in this mist, and all around me suddenly these huge forms, and they're all alone in the middle of the night, in the middle of this ocean, and all of these whales are breathing all around me, and it was just like a mystical experience. And this is what, I started thinking a lot about that's when I began to think about what is my imagination, what is my intuition, what are my connection to these animals, how can I imagine my way into these? And I would talk to Hal about it, and he said, he used to talk a lot about the evenings as well, that he described it as moving among this ancient civilization. So that's the next piece I'll talk quickly about. I mean, this is what's really interesting about sperm whales. He talked about moving among this ancient living culture. Sperm whales have the biggest brains of anyone else on the planet, 3 times bigger than the next biggest one, 3 times bigger than ours, I mean. And those big brains got big between 25 and 35 million years ago. Our big brains got big 2 million years ago. So for 25, 30 million years, by far the brainiest animal on the planet, the animal with the most sophisticated culture, were the cetaceans. What were we doing? We were sticking peanuts up our nose, like whatever. We were wiping our faces with dung. We were hanging in the trees. We were apes. These guys had a more sophisticated, a really interesting and sophisticated culture, which I'll get into in a second. So I always think about this as like, what would it be like to get in a time machine and to go back and visit this ancient civilization? But you wouldn't have to, because it's here right now. It's the same civilization. So we're spending all this money on SETI to go and look at and find aliens wherever and find out what is the alien mind like. We're going to spend all this money, but here's this crazy ancient civilization which has been around for 30 million years and has these incredibly complex brains, and the only people that pay them any attention are like new age stoners and a few scientists. So very interesting. So culture. Hal's pioneered this thesis that different sperm whale clans have different dialects. So, and this is when you listen to things, you begin to pick up patterns in the because in addition to the echolocation codas, the cliques, there's these things called codas. So they're constantly communicating with one another. At least at certain times, they're communicating with one another, and no one knows what these codas are for or what they're doing, but they're patterned in specific ways depending on the clan. So it's like they have these sort of signatures. In addition, different groups of whales, different rates of reproduction, different duties. There's like a babysitter, and the babysitter role might change with time. And then there's there's probably a matriarch of some kind, the old animal. So it's a lot like elephant societies. And the other thing that's really cool is Hal began to realize that, look, these differences, these aren't genetic differences. They're basically learned. So, and they're probably passed on by the matriarch generation to generation. So right there, you're challenging kind of the classic dogma scientific take on animal minds, which is that animals are kind of trapped in the permanent moment. They're always in the present moment. But in fact, these whales have a sense not only of future strategies, but of past lessons. And so you can say that their minds, like human minds, are sort of stretched through time and not trapped in one generation. So we can also tell things about them from the outside. Their behavior's kind of prescribed. The daytimes were cool, but I mean, you're not seeing a whole lot. Basically, what you're seeing is they come up, and then they'll just like bob there on the surface like logs, and then they'll go down and dive, and then they're gone, and then they shit, and you get the shit. But sometimes they go crazy, and this is what I'm going to show you right now. They basically have periods of heavy socialization. So I took this video from, I'll get you to start in 1 second. And basically this video is, I took it from, I was up on the crow's nest, and it's really hard to see what's happening in this video, so I've got a much better video I'll play you right after. But I'll just to begin to give you a sense of it. And here, if you want to play it. I go a little bit crazy, so I apologize. I get very excited. So what you're seeing is all these whales are just squirming together like giant ferrets. And I'm trying to...
Jaws are open, or rubbing all over each other. It's getting like crazy. You hear the echoes? Wow, look at this! This is a freaking orgy!
Yeah, orgy. Okay, so now I'll show you what is really going on under the surface.
There's probably about 8 whales in there.
Okay, so basically, this was taken, this footage by this, in the exact same place, Sea of Cortez, by this underwater videographer. And he got really lucky, and I would call this the world's largest expression of social bonding in terms of biomass, by far. So what's happening is there's about 8 females and 1 male, and there's a juvenile. All of them are about 40 feet long, and there's a baby in there as well. Those cliques are the codas I was telling you about, socialization codas. So again, not navigational at all. They have some other unknown function, a language function potentially, or something else. But they're kind of drumming these clicks into each other's sides and just rolling and scraping and pushing into each other. And the question that I want to ask you guys that this makes me think of when I look at this is that how would you express love and connection with someone if you didn't have hands, if you didn't have lips? What would you do? You rub up against them. You'd push into them. You'd push into them with your bodies, but you'd also push into them with your sound, especially when you find out what the sound can see. So this is what you're seeing here is this, it's this enactment of this incredible ritual of belonging and connectivity. So think about that. You're kind of you yearn for sensation, like scraping your spine against the other one's belly, you know, kind of, it would be like having your scalp scratched, like this incredible sensual. So can you see that, how sensual that is? Can you feel it yourself, how your own bodies would yearn for that kind of sensation in that kind of context? I mean, every time I watch this, I see different things in it. They seem to me almost suffused or drugged, like tranquilized, or, you know. I mean, it also seems almost ritualized, the way one whale will be in the middle and sort of pivot, and the other will kind of roll off in this way. And I watched this with Hal, and he said, I can't do his accent, he had a Welsh accent, but he says, "It does seem as though, Jeff, there's a very different sort of consciousness present." I said, that was awesome, Hal. So whatever you want to say about sperm whales, these animals definitely know how to love. That's kind of what I take from this. What is love but a yearning for connection and an enactment of it?